Hello there, everybody, and welcome back, of course, to Redgate DBAle, the podcast that is all about data and beer, and also Chris's, because, of course, as always, my name is Chris Unwin.
And my name is Chris Unwin. I feel like I've done that one.
You have definitely done that one. You're going to have to come up with some new material.
Can I just pretend it's an in-joke or a private joke and just use the same joke over and over and over again?
I mean, that's what you do anyway.
Yeah.
But no, of course, as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, my boss, my friend, the person who occasionally keeps me on my toes. Of course, it's Chris Kurzweil.
Woo!
Hooray! There you go. Chris, you can be the guest today, if you like.
I'm the guest every day.
Guest rules, that includes you get to use the guest toilet that I've recently cleaned. If you've got the cat on your lap, then you don't need to get up to get yourself a drink. You can invoke the cat on lap rule. And of course, you get to use the nice towels.
That sounds good to me.
I would say it's a good deal.
My towels are rubbish. They're like sandpaper.
Oh, really?
That's an interesting one. Like, I've found out it's one of those things that apparently divides the nation and no one really knows about it. Like how you fold your toilet paper. But do you prefer soft towels or hard towels?
I like it. Wait, towels or toilet paper?
Towels.
Towels specifically. I think I like hard towels because with a soft towel, I feel like I'm not drying myself, weirdly. Like with a hard towel, I feel like I can grate the water off of my skin.
See, that's what I seem to find is the most popular answer to that question. And yeah, you think about like how towels are described in media. If someone describes like popular towels, it's like soft, fluffy towels and people like that. But no, people I've spoken to generally seem to prefer to just, pumice stones as towels if they could.
Absolutely. I can see we've got some outrage from producer Louise in the comments there, hiding herself from the world, but at the same time,
towels. What do you want about? She just spins herself round very quickly and lets the water evaporate off her through friction.
Pure kinetic energy. That's what our Louise has.
I love that irregular listeners might be tuning into this for the first time.
Time. Oh, is this a towel podcast? Why does Louise spin around in circles?
She just does. She does it every week. We can't stop her. Sometimes it causes great problems.
There was that one time she knocked over the printer copier.
Oh, yes.
What a day at the office that was. Anyway, so welcome to DBAle episode 32. That's right. You've been listening to us that long. And today we're going to be talking about hot fixes. And interestingly, Chris, Friday the 21st of May, 2021 specifically, we should clarify that, not just every Friday 21st of May, as there won't be a Friday 21st of May next year, I think.
Well, they're not.
No, it'll be a Saturday. What? No, that would be a Sunday. Oh, you're starting to confuse me now. Anyway, no, Friday 21st of May 2021 is I need a patch for that day. Interestingly, yeah. So today
have you got your traditional patch celebration outfit?
Hang on. Does a crown work?
He has the crown.
The patch crown. I am the king.
I appreciate the traditional touches. Like most people on patch day don't bother with the crown these days. I don't like how fast the world moves sometimes. I think patch day you should have your crown as well as your jeans with 7 patches. It's got to be both.
Yes. Although mine only have 6 on. I haven't gotten around to sorting out the 7th one yet. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about hot fixes. So we'll define first what a hot fix is, how it's different to, say, a bug fix or a patch, an upgrade, that sort of thing. We'll talk about why they're good. We'll talk about why they're bad. We'll talk about if they are DevOps. And then, of course, we will have Chris Kurzweil's favorite segment, of course, being the news, which hopefully
That was
you
the
are.
most dry way I think I've ever heard you say those words.
Well, I needed to say the news because I never say the news. Now I've said the news. Obviously, I'll go back to normal next time.
Okay, that's that one checked off the list.
Perfect. But for now, of course, Chris, we can't just talk between ourselves. It's the afternoon. It's a weekday. It's DBAle. Of course, it is time for
the traditional patch day drink.
That, of course, being a beer. Huzzah! So what are you drinking today, Chris?
A cider. Huzzah!
What?
Well, as you should know, every third patch day, you are allowed to drink something that isn't a beer. So I was
saving mine for wine, but go on.
So I'm drinking a West Country cocktail.
A West Country cocktail that you've already poured into a glass with ice.
It's kind of hard to make a West Country cocktail and then bottle it again. Like the cider's out the bottle, as they say on patch day in the West Country. No, so this is it's a mixture of ciders that is sometimes known as a West Country cocktail. It's a mixture of flat scrumpy cider and sparkling cider. So you usually do dry, flat, scrumpy with sweet, sparkling cider.
So, okay, so for those listening at home, through my mic, because I'm not the one banging any tables like Chris is, because he has this obsession with banging his desk with his hand whilst he speaks, which is all that banging that you can hear that I won't be able to edit out. But that being said, okay, so dry, scrumpy cider and sparkling cider, that makes sense. So did you pick a particular brand of each?
Yeah, so it's quite popular brands, at least in the UK. So the Thatcher's Somerset cider is the sparkling, and Old Rosie from Westerns is the flat. It's a good combination. A lot of people in the UK, I think, know those combinations. Probably not as many have tried mixing them together. It's a good mix. I would really, really, really recommend it.
Sounds good.
And of course, over ice. You've got to have ice in there. You can hear the ice. Jingle, jingle, jingle. Because cider, people who aren't used to alcoholic cider sometimes don't realize just how strong and potent that stuff is. And unlike beer, you can water it down. So mix it with ice and don't embarrass yourself.
Well, you can water down beer. It's just it won't taste good anymore.
Exactly. Whereas cider, you can water down. And the upside of that is that you can really, really easily cool it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is true. I mean, so I'm having a beer because this is DBAle, and at least one of us should be drinking a beer. And I've got this hang on. Oh, you can't see because of my background. There you go. I've got this very funky looking cartoon-esque bottle, and it's called Dry Hopped Wheat, and it's from the Free Assembly Brewery, brewed in Germany. We created this slightly hazy and hoppy wheat beer with one nod to German style and another to the US. Tropical and citrus hoppy notes with that lovely wheaty mouthfeel. Prost. It's 5.2%, which is not too bad. And yeah, it's obviously suitable for vegans. It's very cartoon-esque. It looks very nice. And as you've already opened yours, I'm going to open mine.
Did you get that in a Beer 52 delivery by any chance?
I did get that in a Beer 52 delivery, as it happens. Why do you ask?
I think I recognize the cartoon on the logo, and I think I've probably drunk it.
Ooh, smells interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if you can hear this.
Yes. Well, I could. Now I can't.
It's a lovely color. I can't. Yeah, there's just enough foam in my glass that I can't get one more inch of beer in there. Hang on. Everybody knows foam isn't indicative of a beer. There we go. Cool. The wheat beer is poured. Let it be known across the realms.
All right, so we got our drinks.
Yeah, hang on.
Whoa. We're having some major mat problems. There we go.
Ah, that is a good beer. It does have a, it's weird. It really does have that wheat beer mouthfeel and consistency. Nice few bits floating around in there. But it does, it's very citrusy and fruity. It's very weird. Very Moorish.
I'd like a good wheat beer and a good fruity wheat beer. Belgian fruity wheat beers especially.
I would say that, interestingly, this would go really, really nicely on a hot summer's day. Unfortunately, we here in the UK don't know what that feels like. So moving on.
I thought you were going to say this would go really nicely on a slice of buttered toast.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Do you know what? I could go for a slice of buttered toast right now.
Well, sorry, spreaded butter equivalented toast.
This is true, I suppose. Well, yeah, like dairy-free alternative to butter on toast. Yeah, there you go. Cool. All right, so we've got our drinks. I can't say beers. We've got our dairy-free alternative to butter, supposedly. So now it's time to talk hot fixes. Chris, should we start off with the definition?
Yes, it's like the opposite to a cold break.
Go away.
Hey. Hot fix. So a hot fix I would define as a out of process change to fix something that is in desperate need of it. That's basically it.
Fair enough.
i.e., we have an application and someone has noticed that people can't record their payment card details on it anymore. So someone asked the DBA, hey, quick, we need to edit this field so that we can enable this. And the DBA makes a change and then it's fixed. That's a hot fix.
Solid definition there, Chris. I appreciate that. I particularly appreciated the, hey, we need to edit this field and then it's fixed.
Oh, yeah. This is how I've seen hot fixes go.
That's fair. So I agree with that largely.
But
I would like to add to it, if I may.
There's always a but with you, isn't there?
Oh, yes. It is always pertinent to have a but in conversation with me.
Chris and his massive but.
It's true. It is sizable. And as far as present, anyway, we've taken this too far. So my but aside, the interesting thing about a hot fix is if you think about the name is indicative of what a hot fix is. It's a fix whilst the system is up, whilst it is hot. Right? That's what we like, what we say when it comes to professional race car driving. Like they have to hot refuel.
Yeah, of course.
You're not refueling. You're not refueling. You're hot refueling because the engine is still going, because, you know, and there's an art to it. Now, the thing is, the same is true of a hot fix. Your system is up. It's potentially in demand. Users are potentially using it at that very moment. And you are currently working to fix it in a production setting.
Yes.
Which, of course, differs from a bug fix, because some people do get hot fix and bug fix kind of confused. But a bug fix is just a normal, someone has found a non-urgent bug, or, you know, even if it's a semi-urgent bug, something that can go through the entire process and ultimately gets fixed. It gets changed, it gets merged, it gets built, it gets deployed. you're still fixing a bug, but it just follows the general process. Hotfix
So
is just done.
a hotfix might be a bug fix, and in actual fact is likely to be a bug fix, right? A hotfix is
Yeah,
likely to be a bug fix, but a
you wouldn't say
bug fix is unlikely to be a hotfix, but it
well,
could
you
be.
um
It's kind of like a dolphin is a porpoise, but a porpoise isn't necessarily a dolphin kind of deal.
so a a hotfix is usually a bug fix because that's the only change really that would necessitate making the change in production.
Yeah, unless it was someone being like, "Oh, we forgot to add this feature." Like, that could happen, right? That wouldn't be a bug fix.
I don't know that a team of developers would ever get to a point where they were deploying to prod where they say, "Oh, we forgot to." Like they would say, "Oh,
Well, more like,
we achieved what
yeah.
we set out to achieve in our
I mean,
sprint, and we've deployed X."
I think you're putting a lot of process. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm thinking like an executive was like, "Hey, install this thing that I just thought of. It's really cool," and then the hotfix guy is like, "Okay, I'll do that," and
I
then
mean,
installs it, and that's not
that
a bug fix.
sounds like a company of like two people, but yeah, okay. But I would say yes, a
Again, we're
hotfix.
getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah.
True. Hotfix is normally I would say normally a bug fix. Obviously, there are a few edge cases. You might see a good example of a hotfix might be what's a good example? Like someone editing an index in production.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so if you have a production system and it just so happens that a few queries are running really, really slowly, the DBA might jump into prod and do a bit of index maintenance, a bit of performance improvements. And of course, those index changes would count potentially as a hotfix. A bug fix, I suppose, would be more like when users click on this button and then move their mouse over here, the screen disappears. Oh, okay, well, it's rare that that happens. Only a few users have reported this. So what we'll do is we'll raise a ticket for it, create a bug fix branch, and so on and so forth.
That makes sense. Or you could get one that's both, like we released a change to production and then realized it was the wrong data type. And so now we've got to change it.
Yes, that's true. I suppose if you do all of your testing in dev and test with data that is an integer and you think, oh, okay, well, I'll just make it an integer field. And then it gets released to prod, and suddenly it starts trying to put alpha nums in there. You might have to jump in and quickly hot fix that out and make it an nvarchar instead. But I don't know how often that would happen. Generally, I suppose planning is more reasonable than that.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because I want to answer all these with, yeah, but.
Yeah, true. So in that case, then we've talked about what a hotfix is and the definition and how it differs from, say, a bug fix, or how it is a bug fix but needs to be made to a hot system. But one thing, let's start off with why they're good, because I think we could probably talk about this for the shortest amount of time. So, Chris, do you want to kick us off? Why would you say a hotfix is good?
It's interesting because I'm trying not to make an argument that I'm going to contradict or countenance.
You're allowed to counter it. Like you can. It's like when you end up in one of those situations where it's like you can unlock something and then you have access to X. X could be a huge amount of work, but it could also be hugely rewarding. So that could be like a benefit and a drawback when you're doing a pro and con list.
Like the worst game of Candy Crush ever. So
yeah, basically.
Yeah, hotfixes. Why are they good? Well, you need something that needs to happen like now. So you get it done now. Screw process, man. You don't need process. Just get it done.
I think you're getting ahead of yourself again. I think you're definitely touching on something with...
No, I'm not getting too far out of process. There's genuinely an upside to being like, cutting through bureaucracy. Cutting through bureaucracy is something that people can get on board with.
Mm. For anyone wondering what those random sounds of babies are, that would be Chris's lovely son burbling away there.
Oh yeah, he has learnt to not talk, but make mouth noises. So he makes mouth noises.
Like father, like son.
Oh yeah.
So
he can't take his West Country cocktail though anyway near to the level I can.
Well, no,
That's
I mean,
flawed instantly.
At least give him 12 years. Jeez. So I think you touched on a really interesting point, which is urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you need it done, it's done. That's the hot fix. And you know, the thing we should be aware of is that when a hot fix is needed, it's normally needed because the veritable poop has hit the fan. Now, when the veritable poop hits the fan, we're normally dealing with events like users can't log in, or our service can't accept payments, or
we can't write any data, or
we can't write any data because the disk is filled up. And it's really interesting because a hot fix is usually needed in those sorts of situations where time is absolutely critical. You know, you could be losing customers, you could be, you could be liable for fines. There are a whole bunch of like fallout reasons associated with needing hot fixes that actually all boils down to money. And
that's an interesting point though, right? Like thinking about it, we're thinking about it in terms of software. We've spoken about it in terms of software. What about hotfixes in terms of hardware? Like,
I don't know enough about hardware to comment.
oh, like disks, right?
Yeah,
You've got
true.
a disk failure. You make a hotfix. You need to replace that disk.
Not necessarily. You would have disaster recovery methodologies implemented. So if one server stops responding or goes down, then you might have it clustered with another that it fails over to. So there are definitely ways of handling that, especially if you're going in for infrastructure as a service, platform as a service.
Yeah,
because
I
then
mean, not even thinking about those, because then it does kind of become a software problem for your perspective anyway. But like even on the simplest kind of DR setup, you've got a simple RAID setup, and you are just gonna swap one hard drive out that's failed while the other one is running. Yeah.
But the point is, it's money. Like it's all money. It all boils down to cold, hard dollar bill, y'all.
Money, money, money. It's so
must
funny.
Be funny in a rich man's world. Oh, I love ABBA. Oh well.
Like all of the shocked noises that went round the world at that statement, I can hear them. There were so many of them crying out in unison. Chris Underwood loves ABBA. What?
It should not be surprising that I saw Mamma Mia at the cinema 4 times. Anyway, and Cher
I had in my head 3. I bet it's 3. I bet it's 3, 4.
I mean, then Cher was in Mamma Mia too, and I basically died. I was like, this can't be happening. So yeah, anyway, so it all boils down to money. So the point is we make a hot fix quickly because we can either let it follow through the process, which takes 15, 20 minutes, up to an hour, or we can make the hot fix in the space of 30 seconds. If every second our site is down or our service is down, means that we're not processing, say, 100 customers' requests, and the average minute that our site is up, we're making an average of, let's say, $2,000. Well, for each minute, we're losing $2,000 that we're not guaranteed to get back. So would you rather wait an hour, which is $120,000 loss, or make the fix in the next minute and 30 seconds and take the $3,000 loss. 3,000, 120,000.
It's an opportunity cost of $117,000. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing there is that hotfixes are good because by making them, we can actively save money and we can work out what happened and what went wrong and prevent against it next time.
Okay.
So Chris,
What else?
That's what I was about to say. Hotfixes are good.
Is there an argument to say that hotfixes are inherently agile?
Oh,
I just
that's
saw you
interesting.
twitch on video.
That's really interesting, though.
Like being agile, being able to pivot quickly. Hotfixes are the definition of pivoting quickly, in a sense.
In a sense, I suppose. I'm not sure quite what. I need to run that past an agile coach or something and just be like, quick question. What do you think about this? I don't imagine that they would say that it's a good thing. I think they would probably say that having good testing mechanisms and a thin process.
I love that idea of the agile coach. You go to and like,
yes, I
hey,
advocate
Mr. or
hotfixes.
Mrs. Agile coach. So yeah, I'm thinking of just running hotfixes from now on. I'm not going to actually use test or dev. We're just going to do live changes on prod. And they give it some thought and they're like, holy crap, you're onto something. From now on,
everyone just works in production.
Yeah, don't bother with source control.
This dev test thing was all jumped up, really. Nothing more agile than just hotfix, hotfix, hotfix.
These Kanban boards, these are pointless. Why do we do sprints? And you've got the CFO who's just like, hey, can you get this done? And a developer just goes, okay, on it, and does it. And then that's as agile as it possibly gets.
Yeah, I don't know that I would ever agree with that. I don't think you would ever agree with that. But it's an interesting point to consider all the same. So, okay, is there anything else you can think of? Any other reason why a hotfix might be good?
So one thing that we do talk about quite a lot is how development teams like to work on production because they can effectively see the impact of their changes in a live environment. And how you set this up usually is you have a copy of production as realistic as possible. What is a more realistic copy of production than production itself?
He says, banging on the desk yet again. I swear to goodness, like it'll be so much easier to just wrangle you and tie you to your chair once we're back in the same room.
Later.
If we're back in the same room. But the interesting thing is, I think you're right, is that it is a great feedback mechanism. Like if you make a hotfix, you now know how that system's going to react. You immediately have visibility of that hotfix and what it's going to do. You might have been thinking of implementing it for a while, and then suddenly things get worse, much worse, and you have no choice but to implement it. So you haven't had a chance to test it reasonably.
Boss, you know, we were wondering if whether making this change would bring production down or not. Well, I have the answer.
Do you want the good news or the bad news? Yeah. Give me the good news. We know.
So, you know that Linux permissions problem we were having? I just solved it.
And now I have no permissions.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's fair enough. I can see where you're coming from there. It is a good feedback mechanism, I suppose. Let's
I feel like we haven't to come up with actual benefits, but more like, I don't know, twisted.
Very twisted.
Arguments.
Definitely very twisted.
Have you got anything that would be a genuine? I guess urgency was a genuine.
Urgency is probably the number one benefit to a hotfix, definitely.
Can you think of any others that aren't setting ourselves up to knock it down later. We're just building our own straw man here at the moment, I feel.
I'm really struggling here.
We're trying to be objective.
We are trying to be objective and failing, as we classically do here on DBL when we always have some kind of agenda.
So when we ask the question, then, are they bad? You probably are gonna see where we're gonna go with this, then, right? Like, it doesn't take a genius.
No, absolutely not. I don't think there's anybody listening. And if you are listening and you genuinely think a hotfix is a good thing, let us know why. Send me a tweet at plant-based sequel. Send Chris a tweet at Kurzweil Chris, and tell us why you think a hotfix is good. Because honestly, we are struggling for this one.
Apart from urgency, we do get that one.
Yeah, we absolutely get that.
And often, when we're talking to people about this, very rarely will they say, I actually love hotfixing. It brings me a lot of excitement and joy. It's the way I want to be working. Most of the time, it's like, we just need the process to accommodate it in case something weird happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So in that case, Chris, let's move on to the slightly easier topic of why are they bad?
Why are they bad? Well, the thing that you probably don't calculate as easily, but it's still reasonably easily calculatable, is downtime. Downtime is calculable.
I don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of putting able at the end of anything. Like one of my favorites is, I always say to my wife, sort outable. Don't worry, it's sort outable. And
anyway,
she started using it now. It's like, I'll be like, oh, that thing's broken. And she'll be like, oh, it's fine. It's sort outable. It's spreading.
Downtime is calculationatable. So, downtime is going to be caused by bad hotfixes. Like, you're putting something through that probably isn't going to get checked by someone, because a hotfix is usually done by a single individual.
So
you're not going to do like, well, I mean, you might have someone else watching you while you do it, I guess. Extreme coding hotfixes, but you don't have like a process like a pull review or any kind of pull request going on. You're just doing it.
So it's really interesting, actually, because you've touched on 2 points there. One is that a hotfix is inherently not tested.
True.
Which is, so let's boil that down to what it really means. You know, when we say a hotfix isn't tested, that means it's unpredictable, which means
that's a good one.
Which means that it might fix the problem.
But it carries risk.
But it carries risk. It might cause an entirely different problem than the one you're trying to fix at the moment. And I think that's really interesting, that actually when you make a hotfix, it's kind of like when people say, oh yeah, we fixed that bug, but then it opened up a whole new can of worms, and now we have 6 other bugs to fix. And the same is true of hotfixing. Sometimes you open yourself up to this new pyramid of issues if you don't appropriately test changes.
Yes, for sure. And what was the other one?
The second thing that you touched on, which I had in my brain just now, and it's disappeared, was that you said it's out of process.
Yes. Now,
when it's out of process, this means that we're missing some of the key, like, yes, testing absolutely goes into it. But when we make a hotfix and it's out of process, we also don't have several of the other key pieces of feedback and history, you know, a change log, right?
It's not tracked.
It's not tracked. It is just there, right? And a hotfix just kind of happens, and we don't necessarily have all of the audit trail that we would like for who made that change, when they made that change, to what they changed, to why they made the change in the first place, we don't necessarily have a record or visibility.
Probably not documented as well. So that kind of comes with it because it's out of process. It's probably not been documented. I say probably because you could document it. Like there's no stopping you. But in my experience when I'm talking to people about these, they're not usually things that are well documented on top of this, which comes across with it another risk. If you've got undocumented features, which we all love undocumented features, yeah, and then someone gets struck by lightning, then you've got a problem. Organizations in general really hate that kind of risk, right? Like we don't want single points of failure in our world, and hotfixes kind of breed that. And there's a cultural thing with this too. There are some of us out there, and it's an easy trap to fall into where you want to become the single point of failure. You want to become the thing that the organization can't do without. It's that point of pride. But for the organization itself, that's something they're looking to move away from. The idea of the rockstar DBA, rockstar developer who just like puts his shades on and rock music screams in the background as he does, and he gets out his 7 keyboards and 12 hands, types furiously away for 15 minutes.
The Matrix going on the screen in front.
Nods at the screen, says, "I'm done," smokes a cigarette and walks away into the sunset. And everyone,
as the computer explodes behind him.
Whoa, what was that? What did they just do? Yeah,
no, I totally understand that. And I think it's a really interesting idea that, those days are over, because, hot fixes are still very much part of daily life. I probably hear about hot fixes on a regular basis. I would say at least a couple times a month, where hot fixes have gone bad, or people have needed to make hot fixes, or heck, I even get asked the question that we'll tackle in a minute, which is, how do I include hot fixes in my DevOps pipeline? So I think we'll have to come to that in a minute. But there's one other thing that I wanted to kind of, I'm going to use sales lingo now. Hang on. I wanted to just circle back around on.
Let's drill down into that. Want to try not to boil the ocean while we.
I just wanted to ring fence it for a second.
That's kind of racist, but anyway.
Poor Americans.
Yeah. They always get it really hard.
Yeah. So we talked about
all those American villains in those Hollywood films.
You're kind of thinking as they turn around on their chair and they go, yes, Mr. Bond, I've been expecting you. And it's like, they never have an American accent, really. But
I say this, but like, I've got friends who are German and Russian who I brought this point up at a pub once a few years ago, and got this look of, oh, poor you. You must find it so hard.
This is true, especially having an accent like ours, where we can just flick a switch and go, oh, hello, yes. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Or on the other hand, we can go the other way and sound like we're from the darkest, deepest reaches of farmer country.
Where did you call out of? Well, I came from the basement, I did. But so the interesting thing about a hotfix, there's just one more one I want to call out. And that is that you mentioned, and then I expanded on the fact that it has unintended consequences. And we almost focused on the fact that by making a hotfix, it could do something different to the system than you're expecting. It could, you can fix one thing and have, I don't know, an impact on 4 other things without knowing. Fair enough.
Yes.
The other thing that you can have a major impact on is future development. Because if you have, like, I don't know, let's say you make 2 quick fixes in prod. Well, that went better than expected. So let's make 2 more, and 2 more, and 3 more, and 4 more. And it's like, you suddenly start getting a whole host of schema drift. And the problem is where production drifts significantly from dev and test, and we're not refreshing dev and test, etc., enough, we end up in a situation where actually we don't know what we're working on anymore. We could make a dev change to an object that has actually been changed in prod.
Yeah, and that's a problem, especially if you're relying on like consistent deployment changes, especially like we'd usually talk about the migration-based database deployment method. And if you use that, you always assume effectively, and that's what breeds success, that you have the same ingredients going into the recipe, you have the same numbers going into the equation, and nothing is different from that. Because if something is, then suddenly the equation comes out with a different number at the end.
That being said, in the migrations approach, we always advocate making scripts idempotent as well. So you want to make sure that it can be run even if the thing you're trying to do has been done. But that leads us on quite nicely to, are hotfixes DevOps? And is there a way to include hotfixes in my DevOps pipeline?
And the answer is yes.
They're not really DevOps. But then is anything really DevOps?
Well, the answer to the question,
conversation.
can you make them DevOps, is yes, I believe. Are they inherently DevOps? No. I think we were kind of taking the mickey when we were talking about whether they'd be whether they are actually agile, right? Like they're not agile, they're not really DevOps, but theoretically it's possible to create a DevOps process that allows you to hotfix essentially very quickly and easily.
This is true. But
for example, I was talking to a client the other day. They had 3 branches effectively of their source code repository, one for test, one for prod, one for dev. So most of the time they're working in dev. When they're ready, they move it to test. When they're ready, move it to prod. If you need to make a hotfix, you check it into version control and you merge to prod ahead of where you usually would. And yet you do skip the testing phase, so not always optimal, but you do get the nice thing of being able to respond really quickly and really urgency. But everything's now tracked. And it's not just done by one rock star DBA who is smoking 7 cigarettes and drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels while he does it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I think the answer that I give most often when people ask me about hotfixes is that if you absolutely need to make them and it can't be avoided, then they need to be captured in the pipeline as soon as humanly possible in potentially a hotfix branch. So for instance, you make a hotfix in prod, it works, you're happy with it. And then what you should immediately do, I mean, assuming that you're not making it at 3 a.m, you've been woken up by your pager, or is this 1998? But you've been woken up by something, you're on call, you fix it, you go back to bed. That's, I mean, the reality of it is the business is losing money, fix it. So you fix it and then you go back to bed because it's 3 a.m. and you are shattered.
Yeah.
So, but the first thing to do in the working day when you're back up is to take that change that you made, get it captured in a hotfix branch in dev, basically pull down the latest code from trunk, create a new branch for hotfix, make your change to the hotfix branch, push it, raise a pull request urgently, get it merged as a matter of urgency, stating that it already exists in prod, make sure that your change is idempotent where possible to make sure that it can still run as it goes up the pipeline, goes to test, hopefully passes all of our automated tests. If not, it might get kicked back, at which point we then have to modify
and worry.
Cry and worry and look for new jobs.
Stop praying.
Or write the necessary script to first create the hotfix and then alter the hotfix, which would allow us to create it where it doesn't already exist, and then alter it and retest it. And if that works, promote it to prod, which would then move the hotfix on to something that has been captured in the process. So there are
Yes.
definitely ways of capturing it. You have to be clever about it. And the thing is, these sorts of changes, this is why DevOps is such a good thing, why the kind of iterative approach to development is a good thing, because we try and keep changes as small as possible, fed through the pipeline as frequently as possible, keep them predictable, reliable, etc. And even a hotfix can be predictable and reliable when you get it back up through the process as soon as humanly possible, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Catch you mid slurp there. Chris, agree with me. And he's muted. So there we go. Refreshing?
Very much so, yes. There's
Excellent.
nothing like cider over ice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
my beer is gone. So as my beer is gone and we've reached a natural conclusion and we've only got about 5-10 minutes left, it does make sense that it's time for...
I was tempted to do like a black metal scream, but no, I don't think I could anyway.
The news! No, I can't do it.
That was more of a hair metal scream.
Oh,
I think.
I see. How about coming this summer? Summer 2021. One Chris to rule them all. The news. Dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So we have two bits of news. They're kind of updates rather than news, unless you have more news. Do you have more news than the news that I had newsed?
I was going to do the update and the wonderful Redgate news. And I was going to let you talk about the other piece of news, if that makes sense. Look at how agile we are, literally newsing on the fly.
Hot fixing our news. Can I do my news and then you do your news?
All right, go on.
Okay. So first news is booking.com.
Okay.
Booking.com, they had a data breach. I'm pretty sure we reported on that data breach.
We did.
Back in the day.
Oh, those days ago, when we started this here podcast, when you had to buy the record and listen to it on your gramophone. Hello, this is DBAle. Computers haven't been invented yet. See you next month.
Delivered by carrier pigeon. So the Dutch DPA have fined Booking.com over this data breach. What makes it interesting is the fine was not because of the actual loss of data. I'm not sure if that's still to come, but the fine was over the failure to disclose the data breach in a timely manner, which I find very interesting, right? Like €500,000 simply for not being quick enough. And they were stupendously slow. We've seen slower, still not quick enough, but...
Well, Facebook didn't declare theirs even after 2-3 years. It was only once they were found out that they were like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah, but this is just not a breach, man. It's a scrape of information that isn't publicly available.
Oh, which sounds like a breach, but never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, so there we go. The DPA said that taking rapid action is essential, not least for the victims of the breach.
Interesting.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, with the GDPR, you have 72 hours, I think, to report a data breach. So, and actually, when you look at other regulations like the Protection of Personal Information Act in South Africa, all the way across to the California Consumer Privacy Act, etc., really anything that's come in since GDPR has definitely had a mind on how long should it take us to tell you that this thing has happened. So that makes sense.
It's probably longer than any of those would recommend. 13th of January to 4th of February, more than 72 hours.
Oh, yes.
Then we've got another update on Facebook itself. So there's a website that we've spoken about before called Have I Been Pwned? If you haven't seen that website, check it out. It's by Troy Hunt, and it's really good because it tells you if you've had a data breach. Firefox Monitor, by the way, for those of you cool cats out there who are using Firefox, big up the Firefox Massive. I love it.
Boo. All about Edge.
Oh dear, that's what acid reflux feels like. So yeah, so they've added the ability to search for phone numbers now. So you can put phone numbers into the system to see if your phone number has been pwned. Was it in the data breach? Guess what? Mine was.
Oh, that's an oof. I mean, my phone number has definitely been breached because I have seen so many scam texts recently.
I didn't make this link till recently, but I was just thinking, hang on, have I been getting all of these spam texts because of that data breach? Because I entered my number, it was found on that, and there's so many. They're getting cleverer and cleverer as well. So I saw one the other day. You get a message through saying that your postage has been whatevered. Please put in this nominal amount of money. So you put in the nominal amount of money by following the dodgy link, and then you get a call from the scammers again saying, hey, looks like you've been scammed. Let us protect you from losing all your money. And then they get you for good.
So interestingly, I've had a lot of these, but I've been quite diligent about not clicking on any links. If you don't, so top tip, and maybe this is, I think we've talked about this in the past, but top tip, if you do get a text, obviously do make sure you look at any links and make sure that the top level domain looks legit, because just because someone says that they're messaging from DPD or I don't know, the UK government or whatever, if you look at the top level domain, it'll often be things like it'll often be like DPD customers helpline.co.uk. So it's always worth checking that out. And actually, if you are based in the UK, there is a text service that you can use called 7726. And it's a cross operator network, basically, of allowing you to report spam text. So what you do is you forward the spam text to 7726, and then you'll get a text back from 7726 telling you, thank you for reporting that. What was the number that sent it? So text them the number that sent it, and they'll say, thank you for reporting, and they will investigate it.
Interesting. I didn't know that exists. That's really interesting. 7726. Let's go through like the list of these that I've now got on my phone over the last couple of weeks, because they're quite good. One is my Gusio box is now delivered. Enjoy the recipes. Rate delivery and spelt wrong, by the way, ANW. Enter PRZZE DBAW prize draw at dodgy website. I also had a one from, oh wait, hang on, I've got to make sure I don't read out the one that's from my actual bank. UPS, your package is arriving, track here, go to dodgy website that doesn't even have UPS in there. HSBC, new PA request to Mr. C. Jones through your HSBC mobile banking app. If this was not you, please visit dodgy website. I have another one from Lloyd's that follows a very similar approach, and another one from another bank that actually is my bank, but I realized it wasn't my actual thing. Another one from DHL there. This is just in the last couple of weeks.
There's loads, yeah. Exactly the same.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Another one from Dixon's.
I didn't realize Dixon's was still trading, but there you go. You learn something new every day.
Well, yeah, there you go. And what makes this even better as well is that, PlayStations at the moment, they're really hard to get your whole hands on one of them. They're all being bought up by, unscrupulous people with robots who are looking to resell them. So I, like a lot of people, was trying to get my hands on a latest PlayStation because What I really have is too much free time. Anyway, so I entered like a prize draw with one retailer, and they had this ridiculous process you had to go through. You enter the prize draw. I forgot about it, in all honesty. A few weeks later, got an email. You've been successful. Please click this link to go to the dodgy website. And it was genuine. It was 100% genuine. Like, I've reread this email like 100 times. I did finally click on the link, and they'd used like not their main domain. They'd used like some other weird domain. And I went on there, I entered my details and kind of thought nothing of it, other than I might have just subbed up to loads of dodgy spam. Anyway, like a week or so later, because on the dodgy website it did say you'll be called by one of our teams, I got a call at like 7 o'clock in the evening from this guy who's like, yeah, okay, so give me your credit card information, we'll complete your order. I'm thinking,
Really?
what? This is ridiculous. Like, this can't be real. So I did my due diligence. It took me a while, and there wasn't really much I could do. I still had to kind of make a leap of faith. It was real. I got a PlayStation through this ridiculous process. And this is what an
That's
actual
so
company
weird.
is recommending they do. You just give credit card information to someone who's randomly calling you. That's utterly nuts, utterly nuts. And the whole time I was going through, I was like, I'm like 20% sure I'm being scammed, but I really want a PlayStation.
Well, one thing that we've learned there is that Chris is super gullible if you offer him a PlayStation. So scammers of the world who listen to DBL, which is a
Yeah,
very
exactly.
small subset of people, I'm sure, just know that Chris is open for business. But do you know, Chris, who won't try and scam you and actually who won't ask for any money?
Father Christmas.
I was going to say Redgate because
Ooh.
actually we have Redgate streamed coming up on the 23rd of June. And guess what? It is free and you don't have to go to any ridiculous domain or subdomain to sign up for Redgate streamed. It's actually just very simply red-gate.com /events. I think that's what producer Lou told me. So /events. If I'm telling you wrong, then you can just, oh no, we're correct. Fantastic.
It's all right. We'll fix it. We'll fix it on the.
We'll fix it. But yeah, so that's of course red-gate.com /events, and you can find us on the little events calendar.
You should totally go through the recording and like edit badly in loads of like snippets of edits, and that would be like you're patching the episode.
Oh no.
Yeah.
This is a patch.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a patch. No, okay. But it's really interesting. So back to Redgate streamed. It's on, it's across kind of June 23rd, 24th as well, obviously, depending on time zones. But basically, it's about embracing technology trends for database success. And there are some incredible speakers. We've got everyone from David Ferguson at Google, Manish Kumar at Microsoft, Pamela Mooney. We've even got one of my particular favorite humans who I love speaking to, Tracy Boggiano. There's a billion different people speaking and so much knowledge to be had. So do go over to red-gate.com /events. And in the little events panel, find Redgate streamed June 23rd, and you will find the sign up form. You'll be able to sign up for free for some amazing learnings and some other really cool stuff.
Whoop, whoop.
Yay! But Chris, I'm afraid that sadly brings us to the end of DBAle, much to my own personal delight, because I've been out of beer now for about 20 minutes. So that glass needs
quick
refreshing.
Refill.
Yeah, quick refill, hot refill.
Yeah.
Whilst we're still on DBL.
Yeah, I need to crack on and get ready for the semi-annual patch dance too.
That's true, and I will see you in the patch of grass outside your house.
You will indeed.
For now, though, Chris, thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone for listening, as always, for supporting DBL. It is an absolute pleasure. And as always, feel free to reach out. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about, or you'd like to hear. We're always open to suggestions. You can reach us at dbl@red-gate.com, or my personal favorite, of course, Twitter. So we look forward to seeing you in the future. Here's to another 32 episodes-ish of DBL. Who knows? But we will see you then. But for now, Chris, thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers. Have a glorious Patcherville. Think.